Alright, in my last 3D printing video, I showed you how to assemble this printer. This is the Creality Ender 3D Pro. But now you may be asking, alright, I put this printer together and what do I do with it? Well, there's a couple things you can do. There are websites like Thingiverse.com that have pre-printed models. So for example, you can go to Thingiverse here and you can see here they have a Apple EarPod case. You can search for just about anything. My daughter likes Eevee and Toothless and all those characters. So the first thing we printed out was a Pikachu that we downloaded from Thingiverse. Now, you may be wondering, okay, I got something that I want to print that isn't here, so how do you do that? Well, there's a couple ways you can proceed. So you can use a program like Google SketchUp. You can get this this program for free on the internet. This is SketchUp Make 2017. I think some of the newer versions might be paid, I'm not really sure. Let's say you just want to make a box. So let's make our box. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool. Let's start at the origin, just make a box, let's say, let's do 1 inch by 1 inch, right? 1 inch, 1 inch. Alright. So we've got this box done here. Now let's make it 1 inch tall. So we're going to use the push-pull tool. We're going to pull it up 1 inch. Alright, so now we have a box, or a cube I should say, that is 1 inch by 1 inch. Now let's say you want to print this. So using a plugin to SketchUp, you can export what's called an STL file, and you can get that by going to your extension warehouse and just search for STL. Search. Takes a minute. And I just installed this one, the SketchUp STL by SketchUp team. And that gives you this export STL option here. So I've been exporting in millimeters. So you hit export, it's going to generate an STL file. So let's just pick something and put it in downloads. Let's save. Now you need what's called slicing software. The slicing software takes your STL file and figures out how to turn that into basically slices up into very, very small layers, and the slicing software also defines the toolpath, in this case the 3D printing extrusion head path. So again, I use Cura, which is free. This is by Ultimaker. This is version 4.1, you get it on the internet. And what you see here is a model of an, I think it's an EarPod case that I'm making for my daughter and one of her friends. So, don't want to interrupt this. This is actually printing something right now. Let's see if we can open a second instance of Cura. Should be able to. Takes a little while to load. Alright, so we got a second instance. Let's open our file, our STL file we just created. And here's our cube. Right down here. So now what you do is you can press this slice button down here. You got to set up your printer, obviously. I have it set up as a Creality Ender 3. That seems to work okay, even though it's a Pro. So there are a lot of options you can use here. You can use the layer height. This kind of defines the quality of the output product, the Infill. So this will create a grid structure on the inside. When you see slice, you'll see what that looks like. So let's preview that. You can actually watch the toolpath. So that grid that you see there, that's the infill. So if I increase infill to say 60%, slice, you'll see that grid pattern gets much more fine. There we go. It's probably a little bit easier to see. So notice that grid pattern is much finer than, say, if you brought it out to 20, which is kind of the recommended grid pattern. So you see there. And you can play through it and you can watch the toolpath. So this is what it would actually do if it were to build this 1 inch by 1 inch box. Down here it gives you a time to make it. And the time is going to depend upon your settings here, like what your layer height is, what your infill is. And there's a lot more settings here that you can get very deep in. Haven't found the need to adjust a lot of those yet. And from here, you can hit Save to File, which will create a G-code file, which you can put on your SD card and plug that into your printer. The SD card slot in this printer is right here. Or if you have your printer connected via USB, as I do, you'll have an option down here to print to USB, which you will see here. So you'll see an option like that if your printer is hooked up and configured. But my printer is busy, so I only have an option to save to file. So you'll save it to file. You're going to save it to a micro SD card slot, put it in your printer, and then just follow the instructions on the LCD screen to print. It's really that easy. It's not, I'm probably making it sound harder than it actually is. You don't have to define any of these tool paths or anything. Really, it's just kind of click and go. Import, slice, and most of the time you're done. So hopefully that was helpful to you, and enjoy your 3D printer. And don't forget to subscribe.